how you do that.
You always get your little head in the middle of the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how y'all doing today, man? Today we got a very special episode of the DJ Focus podcast. We might as well just start at 9 now because we've been starting at like 8:45 for the last 2-3 goddamn weeks. I got a special guest back here, the writer of the show. Me and him have been having some debates all week long. And so tonight we decided to just me and him come up on here. We're gonna argue with each other. we're going to politely debate with one another, and we're gonna get y'all point of views on these very serious subjects and serious topics we got going on right now. So this is a little different, this podcast, because there's a lot of turmoil going on in the world right now, and you know, I wanted to talk. So yesterday I put a Facebook post out, right? Facebook post was basically saying like, F Will and Jada, what do y'all think about Israel and Palestine? And the response I got was overwhelmingly good. People giving their opinion on Palestine-Israel situation. But a part of the response that I got was, oh, that don't got nothing to do with us. Black people need to stay out of things that don't got nothing to do with them. This, that, and the third. And one statement I got from a brother was like, oh, yo, you know, what you gonna just be arguing on a Facebook post and that's it? Like, as if, you know, you gotta have boots on the ground. You can't just be, you know, just talking on Facebook. And, you know, my response to that is, I'm a journalist, okay? I take a journalist approach to how I deal with these topics and these situations. You have journalists all throughout the freaking country, and you have podcasters all throughout the country and the world who give their opinion on things and give their narrative on things, and that's how they fight they do their part, let's just say, right? So as a journalist, as a podcaster, I said, you know what? We have to do our part. So this episode, we're going to be discussing the Israel and Palestine situation. You know, I know some of the viewers is going to be like, oh, they not talking about Sexy Red. We don't care about that. Well, then this podcast is not for you. Okay. But anybody who cares, who has a thought or opinion, who does their due diligence on educating themselves, learning themselves, and speaking truth to power, then this episode is for you. Point blank, period. Okay? It's a lot of false narratives being put out here by the legacy media, by people on YouTube, by people on, you know, these different social media apps and whatever the case may be. So today, you know, the DJ Focus podcast is going to do its part, and we're going to, you know, have a discussion on the Israel and Palestine beef. We got one topic to get to before we go to that we didn't get to last week, but we're going to do our part this week. Next week, we back with our guests. Next week, we got Jacob Morrow coming on, Tammy P, of course, Quana, you know, Draco will be back. Next week, we back with our guests. But this week, we just going, me and Professor, and we're going to hash some things out. We're going to hash some things out. Do me a favor and bring down the left side of that tripod a little bit because it looks a little crooked up here on the screen. Make sure that thing is right. All right, Professor, what's up, man? What's going on, man? How you doing today?
I'm all right, you know, same. I've been, unlike the general public in America, I guess we're distracted. I have been paying close attention to the Israel and Palestinian conflict. We were supposed to talk about it last week, but you know we got into really good discussion with the first two topics that I wrote. That was a very good podcast,
Right?
Which it strung out to a lot longer than we thought.
Boy.
But what happens is the average person that you
He
ask
said, "I'll be
about,
back." Psh, you know what? Go ahead.
the average person that you ask about this this conflict up in the Middle East, they don't know too much about it. And it's just like Focus just said, you know, we get a lot of people from our community who would say, I have nothing to do with this conflict at all. When in reality, we live in a country where, secrets are kept from us anyway.
Right.
And so, therefore, when we're always looking for what is the U.S.'s motive in this, these are one of those things that you should be looking out for because of the fact that the U.S. has a very, very big hand in this conflict.
Right.
And so while the media puts out a lot of stuff to distract us, music, sports, entertainment, all of the nonsense that keep us from watching the news and actually paying attention what the U.S. is really doing in the world, that's what we need to be paying attention to. And on top of that, this is one of the biggest conflicts that we've had almost since 9/11. As far as what they are putting on the TV, and considering, for example, terrorist acts and oppression and this, that, to the third, and the war being started.
Right.
After 9/11, keep in mind, everyone started realizing that the war in Iraq was unnecessary.
Right.
So right now, all we are seeing on TV, and me and Focus have opposing points on it, right? But right now, all we are seeing on TV is support for Palestine, right? I'm sorry, support for Israel.
Right, exactly.
That's all. And the narrative being pushed is that Palestine are the ones, who aren't oppressed, are the oppressors. And so when you look deep into that research, you realize that it's kind of the other way around, So, I'm looking forward kind of to getting into that discussion.
Yeah, it's about to go down, just like Candace said. When it's just me. First of all, Jihad, you knock it off. I ain't talking about saying, I'll be back next week. See, this is the problem with our people. We don't want to delve into these conversations because we don't want to go and do the studying that it takes, the research that it takes to have an opinion. And guess what? If like Frank Brunt would have said in the comments, it all has to do with us. Professor made a good point. USA is the number one backers of Israel. You live in the USA, you big dummy. Like, why? Not you, but I'm just saying. You big dummies. Like, why do y'all not understand that this adversely affects us? You paying your tax dollars to fund Israel $4 billion a year. So guess what? The money that you're spending is going to this war right now.
$4 to $8 billion.
$4 to $8 billion. The money we spending going to this war right now. So if you do not have enough wherewithal, enough intelligence to at least realize that you have a dog in this fight, since you're in a country who is, when they talk about Israel, they talk about the U.S. When they talk about what's going on in Israel and their number one backers and finance, everybody around the world is talking about U.S. Russia talking about U.S. China talking about U.S. Iran
the number one country after Israel and Palestine. Like, this is literally the number one. Like, we literally are the subject around the world.
Absolutely.
We literally are. We're the subject around the world. But you see, us as a country as a whole, like I said, when it comes to these conflicts, when you turn on the TV, on the news, you see war. You just see a conflict in a different country, and you're like, oh, nothing new. This is something new. I can assure you that.
This is, and guess what? It affects you directly. Like I said, Iran is talking about it. China's talking about it. North Korea is talking about it. Talking about U.S., Israel, Palestine. Everybody's talking about the U.S. involvement. Right now, if Hezbollah go start on the northern front, because right now they saying on the southern front they facing Hamas. But on the northern front, if Hezbollah get into it, guess what? Guess who says they going to hop into it next? The United States. Your country, silly. So you better start doing your research. You better start get out there. We protest for George Floyd. We protest because, and I'm not taking away from George Floyd. What happened? We protest for that, though. We protest for police brutality, whatever the case may be. All that affects us. You wasn't in Milwaukee or wherever that was at. You wasn't in these places. So you wasn't in Ferguson, you wasn't there, but it affects you because it affects your people. Well, guess what? This affects you because it affects your people and affects your country. And the same people who've been oppressing your ass is oppressing people all around the world. So if you don't wisen up and smarten up, we are at a severe and super loss.
And check it
Okay?
though. And just a side note, you know what I'm saying? When we get into that discussion, we will give some background. It's like you said, you know, you got to go and do your research. And so this will be considered research for you guys today if you decide to stick around. As you know, terms like Hezbollah and Hamas will become a little bit more familiar to you after this episode.
Yeah, all of this, all of this. All right, so get your laptop ready. This is going to be one of them ones. I told you, whenever you see just me and Professor on the couch, you understand and realize this thing about to get deep, deep, deep. We've been going at it all week long, all week long. But before we get into that situation and that subject, I got a little warm up subject for us. Okay, a little like Frank said, war is coming sooner than we think. It is. Okay, it's coming sooner than we think.
Let's talk about one of our distractions.
Okay. Oh yeah. Let's talk about one of the.
That's what I'm just saying.
Let's talk about one of the distractions.
But the
I gotta
warm-up is
send these.
technically a distraction to the war.
The warm up is a distraction to the war, but I wouldn't say it's a distraction. I would say it is representative of the war that we're facing right here, right now on this front. The brother Marquine yesterday said, "Oh, you got to have boots on the ground to have a argument. You can't just be on Facebook talking." Well, my boots, I told him my boots is on the ground. My boots is on the ground right here. When we have these discussions, when we have these study groups, when we go out and march and we protesting the oppression and war that our people face every day. So that's my primary concern. So my boots is on the ground here. I don't got to be in the army or going over there to this embassy or whatever the case may be. No, my boots is on the ground right here. So we're going to talk about our first subject before we get into Palestine and Israel, even though we already got into it a little bit, but we're going to get into it way deeper. So this was a topic we were supposed to get into last week that we didn't get into last week. As well. Okay, so we're going to start with this topic here. What is a great, and I'm going to ask Professor this, what is a greater influence on the behavior of these young, hood kids, these kids that's out here shooting, killing, robbing, stealing, that can't seem to do nothing but criminality, that aspire to be criminals? What is the greater influence to these young hood kids out here of all races and ethnicities, but particularly the urban ones, Black, Hispanics? What's a bigger influence? Is it the poverty that they face every day? Or is it the music that they listen to? Is it the music that's turning them into these thugs? Or is it the lack of resources? Is it the poverty that's turning them into thugs because they don't got lack of economic opportunities, so they out here robbing, stealing because they disproportionately don't have the same access to wealth as everybody else? You start with you, Professor, real quick. I got it.
Okay. So let's say if I decided to take an extreme point of view and say hip-hop, gangster music is the reason that these kids is out of control today. That's a very strong point to make, and it's not of course, the determining factor, but I would like to argue that it's a big pusher. And the reason I say so is hip-hop has influenced our way of life,
Okay.
I think that there's certain slang, so it's a certain way that we talk. It's a certain way that we, our attitude, present ourselves, the way that we dress. And so with all of those factors being considered as far as our influence in the Black community go from hip-hop, when it comes to violent actions being taken, we both know that like average gangster rap out there, whichever song you want to catch, like the average gangster song out there is going to have a lot of violence in each verse. So if we're going to take the cultural aspect of how we dress and, like I said, how we talk and this, that, to the third, we have to know that the other portions of hip hop count too, in those violent portions, I really do think that they have a way of subconsciously getting to kids. You know,
Okay.
I do kind of feel as though that um, it's not when they're in the conflict that they're thinking, what song can I relate this to so I can whoop his ass? Right? That's crazy, right? But what I am thinking though is that listening to gangster rap your entire life, right, places a big influence on the decisions that you make when you get into a conflict with somebody.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so that's why I think it's a big push. What you think?
So you saying that the music is the number one is over the poverty?
I'm
It's
gonna
the music.
argue that.
That's you gonna argue.
I'm gonna argue.
Okay. So I agree with your position, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to take the opposite approach. Okay, and I'm going to do this. Try to do this as independent of the argument that I could. I'm just going to try to present the other argument. So there's many of people who believe that the music is only a representative of what we already dealing with in the streets. Okay, so we live in the poverty. We live in we have the lack of wealth. We living in the welfare, poverty, industrial complex. We got, the lack of economic opportunities. We out here living in the drug infested, neighborhood. So we only rap about what we're already living. Okay. So, this country did a number on us, right? And they did a number on the hood in general. When they, like I always talk about the Housing Act in 1930, how they created all of the suburbs, adversely created the hood, stuck you in projects, stuck drugs in the community, stuck crime in the community. They criminalized you. They privatized the police. They they militarized the police, privatized the prisons. They did all of this stuff to you, okay? And this was before gangster rap, okay? We was out here acting a damn fool before gangster rap even existed, okay? Because of the societal factors that the government placed upon us that pushed us purposely into poverty. So there's some people who will argue that that's a bigger determining factor because at the end of the day, that's where the government wants us to be. And you got globalization, you got unfair housing acts, you got black economy being destroyed through redlining and through civil rights and all of this other stuff, right? So the societal factors outweigh the one factor of music, of rap. What would you say to that?
I would say that from that perspective, I can't disagree. However, there are also some that will argue that that the hands that hip hop has into our community, when you put it versus poverty, and stand alone, you put hip hop versus poverty, some would look at poverty as an excuse. And the reason I say that is because you have stated your point that poverty existed before hip hop, right? So we do know that even though it's not a super high percentage, right? I won't argue that. It's not a super high percentage. However, coming from poverty doesn't determine that you won't be successful in life, right? So
he said, "Get to the mic." He got a whole kid louder than you. You up here like, excuse me, speak like you battle rapping, nigga. Damn. This wasn't you yesterday in the shop when you was coming on. Focus, I'm tired of your shit, man.
We were debating.
Oh, we not. Oh yeah, all right. You know what? We gotta get to the. He in smooth mood.
So, as I was saying, all right. So, for example, right, as a gangster rapper, right, put yourself into the shoes of a gangster rapper. Do you believe that there's like a sort of a ego, right?
Right.
You're a gangster rapper, and a show of masculinity, sort of.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. So, do you think that hip hop maybe pushes the idea this is verse poverty. Do you think maybe that hip hop pushes the idea of a of a tough guy demeanor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So therefore, when I say that hip hop is definitely a big pusher on the influence when it comes to violence, it's because when we talk about real toxic masculinity, not the shit that women talk about nowadays, right? When we talk about real toxic masculinity, that's what we as men actually actually encounter, right? Women really don't get into like what we do, right? And that's in these situations where we are about to fight. And so with always that one of the two that wants to be tougher than the other, right? And then especially the black community, that demeanor is usually revolved around hip hop as well, right? Because of the slang, the demeanor, like what like when we talk about I kill you, you know what I'm saying? I got my boys, this, that, to the third. It's always the same rhetoric, right? So I sit in there and I sit and I think, right? I'm like, without poverty, would hip hop exist? Because being as though we have that masculinity, that ego, right? That means we also have what? That survival instinct. But where's the survival instinct if poverty didn't exist?
I think hip hop is born out of that competitive mode, that mode that you want to be better than your opponent.
Yeah.
So the ego comes from there. The ego comes from your skills. It comes from, am I a better rapper than you, such and so and so. I really don't think that has anything to do with the gangster portion of it, right? The gangster portion of it is another leg, okay, of the system, okay, driving us into this criminality, driving us into making these fucked up bad decisions, right? Driving us into, remember, they criminalized us before they criminalized the music. Before they criminalized us, through hip hop, they criminalized us in the media. They criminalized us on a lot of different fronts. So what I'm saying is, yes, the music is one leg of it, but it's only one leg of it. The majority of the legs, there's 5-6 other legs, okay? You know what I'm saying? So, like, the poverty and, that what we're dealing with, that is a multi-layered event, right? They had to burn down Black Wall Street. They had to take the very fight out of a black independent economy out of us through civil rights and all of that, right? They had to globalize, right? They had to privatize the prisons, right? They had to enforce the poverty industrial complex, start welfare, right? They had to, drive you into the hoods through unfair housing acts. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 legs that created the poverty, okay? So, when you have all of these societal determining factors that pushes you into this poverty and pushes you into making these dumbass messed up positions. Yes, the hip hop is a part of it, but the hip hop is only one leg compared to 5, 6 other legs that forced us into being out here making these bad decisions and you know what I'm saying, having this lack of economic opportunity that forces us into, wanting to rob, wanting to steal, wanting to kill, whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? So it's more than that. Like, you feel what I'm saying? And many will argue, whenever you have poverty, whenever you have that lack of access to wealth, what you're going to inevitably have is a higher raise in crime, a higher raise in crime rate. If they give everybody else the wealth that we don't get, okay, then they have the less opportunity and potential for crime. So, the poverty in itself, and the lack of economic equity, okay, is going to create crime, a rampant crime. You know what I'm saying? Like on a whole nother level.
I don't doubt that poverty is a big contributor to the reason that crime is committed on a daily basis. But what I will argue is that you said that there are many factors to why we commit crime. There are about 6 legs. And so if I was to compare crime to poverty as far as music go, I would say that hip hop takes up about 3 of those legs. And there's a reason I say that, right? It's because hip hop, out of all genres of music is the biggest contributor to violent crime than all of them. And the thing is, like I mentioned before, poverty in the black community, like you said too, existed before hip hop did, right? But we didn't have these other genres of music that was pushing that impoverished aspect onto the black community as far as violence go. You know, our oldies, we didn't have to worry about shooting a nigga, right? Now, it was probably more, secular music, right? But white people did that shit too. In fact, they copied us. So that's not even a big part of the conversation as far as like the influence music in general had.
Right,
But
right.
when we talk about poverty versus crime, and then we compare it to hip hop versus crime, no. Hip hop is not the only factor towards crime, but when you compare, but no one's ever had the conversation of music contributing to violent crime until hip hop surfaced. I'm a rap artist. I just have to admit that.
Yeah. You know what? I'm trying my hardest to present the other side of it.
I'm a
But
debater, right?
nigga, I agree with you. It's the music.
And listen,
The music got us out here
in
wilding.
general, I would argue like poverty because I love hip hop, right? In general, I
What
would
you
argue
send that
that.
itinerary to?
Huh?
My messages or just my email?
Your email. I would usually argue poverty over hip hop. I mean, I'm a battle rapper. You know, I love music.
Yeah, you got more gun bars than the IRA.
Exactly. So that's when you have to self-reflect. Like, hey, yo, like for real, like what am I doing good for people when I spit this type of shit? And you know, when I first started off rapping, it was definitely a lot more positive because I was just big on extensive vocab. You know what I'm saying? But you see, then again, that serves the point as well. It's like people, as far as hip hop go, they still want to hear what is being pushed out. So over the years, yes, my writing changed to being a little bit more violent than I was when I first started writing, right? Because honestly, it's a pusher into what the ears want to hear, you know. And when you have the talent to be able to, you know, like extend your vocab within lyricism, and at the same time, like, what would you say, relate to the hood shit.
Right.
I'm a big fan of Eminem, right? But the hood, for example, isn't that much of an influence by Eminem, right? So I like lyricism. But
That's
I
because
also have to
Eminem be talking some.
But
I
I
want to
have
cut
to-
your grandmother's throat in the candle.
We ain't gonna have that debate. We know that younger Eminem was on some shit like that. But today, nowadays, it's just all clever bars, lyricism. You know what I'm saying? Like shit that you would find in battle rap.
Right.
But still, that still wouldn't make a difference in the hood. In the hood, they want to hear that violent shit. You understand what I'm saying? They want to hear that, and that's gonna push like the hood mentality. The same.
I don't know if I would say. I think they're being forced into thinking that they want to hear it, okay? And Wilder, you just brought up a good point. She said, I know kids hustling in NY and Philly, or kids hustling in Philly, or NY and Philly, that are non-violent, just making their money. Meanwhile, rich kids listening to the music, trying to be hard and street, that become disrespectful, and it's true. I
do have to
music,
make a point to Wilder though, as far as that hustling though. Like you can remain peaceful, however, like you hustling, right? So therefore, violence happens because of territory, because of issues with money. Like that is kind of automatic. If you hustling, then you're going to encounter issues with a nigga that's also hustling. And so yeah, you're going to find those kids up there that's hustling, you know, with the intentions of I'm just trying to get bread and that's it. But however, that's really hard not to get into a altercation with somebody when you hustling. It's always going to be somebody that's, you know what I'm saying, probably taking your customers or some shit like that. And these are the type of issues that you run into in the hood, and then they get talked about in hip hop.
right?
You get what I'm saying? Like it's a never-ending circle cycle over and over again.
Yeah, no, I agree. And on top of that, you have these young hood kids you have young kids that's in the hood that may be doing good or may want to do good. Like she just said, they out here trying to get their money, this, that, and the third. But they feel as though they're being pushed towards the hood behavior strictly and directly because of the music. Okay, music has always been a catalyst for human behavior. That's why I always say, if your ass want to go get in touch with Jesus, you gonna go listen to some gospel music. You gonna go put on Hezekiah Walker, and you gonna go put on Mary Mary, and you gonna put on whoever the hell else. When you want to listen,
Franklin.
Kirk Franklin, you gonna be out here make you wanna stomp all of that because music has always been a catalyst for human behavior. You got the war drums that get you ready for war. You want to lay down with your lady. You put on, that good R. Kelly, whatever you put on, you know what I'm saying? You Trey Songz, you put this on because you want to get in the mood. Well, guess what? The music puts you in the mood too, okay? And hip hop being the number one genre of music, okay? The number one genre of music that the world is listening to. Yep. It's a double duality because you got kids that's not hood at all that feel like they gotta be hood
because of hip hop,
because of the music.
That's fact.
You feel what I'm saying? And then B, you forcing us to believe that that's the type of shit that people actually want to hear. When all of the rich people, the people that's really is the crossover people, the people who could sell out whole stadiums, not just arenas but stadiums across the world. You feel what I'm saying? It's not the hip hop artists. Even though hip hop is the number one genre, you want to listen to that at a certain time. White folks want to listen to that at a certain time. Then when they don't want to listen to it around everybody. You can't listen to that around grandma. You can't listen to that around Uncle Jerry and them. You can't listen to that around even us. We can't listen to certain hip hop songs around everybody. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like a guilty pleasure. You feel what I'm saying? The hip hop music.
Remember what Upgrade You came out by? It was Jay-Z and Beyonce's, right? Upgrade You.
Oh yeah.
And then Lil Wayne's came out, his version. And so everybody knew that shit was like an anthem. You would hear that shit at 6 o'clock in the morning before you just blast it. 6 in the morning. These niggas ain't got no they ain't have no chill at all with it. Like that shit was literally an anthem.
Now look, we got a comment. Okay, from Unbiased, one of our top contributors on YouTube, our YouTube contributors. Shout out to everybody on Facebook and Twitch and all of the other platforms that we on. Twitch, y'all gotta get y'all what are we on? Twitch or Instagram too, right? We on Instagram too, right? Yeah, y'all gotta get y'all comments up, man. Y'all playing with it. All right. But he says, don't say it's the government controlling the music. You have extreme right wing's views, my boy. Hold up. My views ain't right wing. My views ain't left wing. I take portions of the right wing. I take portions of the left wing.
Let's just explain that for a second. So, because we talk about that all the time, the influence that, all right, so.
And then I create my own wing, nigga. I'm the middle wing.
So this is a side note to poverty, right? The government's influence falls into how the economy works, okay? So the economy, just the way the economy worked on slavery, the economy also worked on the factors of hip hop, right? You got the music industries. Let's say, for example, the average music industry, I know we see a lot of black faces in hip hop, but the average music industry is honestly owned by Jewish and white people, right? And so therefore, when you look at the average artist, they make a few million, right? You know what I'm saying? I say about.
But some white folks is making billions.
Yeah, and they're making this much money off of that product of hip hop,
right?
And so when you tie in the government, right? When you tie in the prison systems, hip hop contributes to that. Okay, now we have to understand that the government makes money off, for example, the prison system. All right, so if you got hip hop basically influence a shitload of people that go to prison, then the government's making money off of that. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So of course the government is going to help to push it. In the beginning, yes, you had the government kind of against hip hop, right? But look at how much hip hop has flourished, and look at what is put into the black communities as far as our influence go, and at the same time, what the demise it causes into the community. So it kind of has a bigger interest with the government than it does us.
So check. So it has a bigger influence, not only just with the government, but with the corporations. Okay, with people that's making money off of this. People making. No, I'm adding on.
Yeah, I was just
the corporations too. We suffering because of the music, but Gucci making money, Prada making money, Balenciaga making money, prisons is making money, the gun boys making money, the perk boys making money, the drug boys making money, the government making money. Everybody's making money of black folks' ignorance, black folks being used as cannon fodder, black folks, behaviors being curtailed to their own agendas. So look what they say.
Black people make money.
So look what they say. They say, Catcher Vermin Draco, he says, you can't be fence sitting focus. You can't be taking points from the right and point from the left and then creating their own wing. Well, actually, you can do that because the bottom line is the reason they keep your ass fighting on both sides is because they give the lefts some points that's good. They give the rights some points that's good. Like,
it still works together.
Like the left will tell you, oh, look, Black Lives Matter. We got to stop police brutality. We got to stop. All that shit is true.
Yep.
Okay?
And then
but then the right wings will tell you, stop abortions. We got to stop with this abortion stuff, which is black genocide in many ways. So I agree with, portions of the right wing and what they saying, as far as, the transgenderism and putting the transgenderism in our schools and all this stuff. The right wing is right about that. You shouldn't be teaching 6-year-olds that they should be transgenders. That's wrong. That's false.
Got a long list of negatives.
But both sides got a long list of negatives.
That outweigh the good.
But both sides also got a long list of positives. So what they do is they keep y'all fighting, and this is how they say: stand up for your right-wing views, independent of what the right says that's false, and then you stand up for your left-wing views, independent of if what the left says is false. So you take the few things that you believe in your heart, and then you choose a side. I'm right-wing, and then you sacrifice all of the other bullshit that you really don't believe in. You sacrifice your soul and say, well, you know what? I'll ride with it for the greater good of right wing, left wing, whatever the case may be. But the fact about it is, you got to eat the fish and throw away the bones. You need to have both, look at both sides objectively, and then, cherry pick. You take certain parts from certain sides, and that's why I don't believe in no wings at all. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm biased. He said, oh yeah, you take things from certain side, but you blame the government for everything, and therefore, that's right-wing views. Well, guess what? The government is to blame for a lot of things, okay? The same government that creates laws, the same government that will take your freedom and lock you up, the same government that will cancel you and violate you and disrespect you if you don't follow the laws of the land. Why do we have laws? Why do we have regulation? And where do those laws and regulation come from? They come from the government. So when I see a system now that's allowing this music to be, unhindered, pushed out to the people, no regulation, the same people that will say, oh, wait, you just went against Israel, we going to cancel you. Oh, wait, you a bigot. Oh, wait, how dare you? We going to take your YouTube monetization away from you. We're not going to allow you to have no free speech. We're not going to allow you to say what you want, okay? Because that's dangerous rhetoric. Well, guess what? Hip-hop music is dangerous rhetoric too. But y'all don't care about that. Y'all don't regulate that. Y'all just allow anybody to say anything they want. I kill a nigga, shoot a nigga, kill a nigga, kill your grandmother, throw your family off the roof, tie you up, tie your babies up. I'm killing the kids. I don't care. I shoot everybody in the house. And y'all be like, whoo, yeah. But y'all won't put that shit on Z100. Y'all won't put that shit on B104. Y'all won't put that shit on white stations. Y'all will only relegate that type of shit towards black people and black music. That is the government, okay? With no regulation towards what we got going on. You feel me? Like, this is what we got to stop. He says hip hop is free speech and blacks don't regulate it. We have no complaints. That's a lie. We do have complaints. There's a lot of people who complain about the music. There's a lot of people who complain about the current state of hip hop. They don't get heard. They don't get a voice. They don't get a voice.
Actually, there was a documentary I just watched. I think it was called Tricked into Gangster Rap, right? Where you know, when we all know the story of NWA, when basically they were fighting for their right to say whatever they wanted on their records, and you know the police was against them. Like we all know that story, right?
Right.
Well, in this documentary, it actually focuses on the fact that that was all another way to get gangster rap pushed out, right? So it was like you had
Niggas with attitude.
no. So check it out, right? So it was like it was kind of like a strategic plan the way they saying. You know, this is just a theory, right? But what they said was basically like with with all of the white people that was against NWA, it pushed the narrative of white people against black people, which got the black people like, no, let NWA say whatever the hell they want. Which helped actually like just help to push that whole thing of gangster rap in the direction that it is at this current moment.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So it was like, no, you can't have this, so that way black people would fight for it, and say that way we would get to where we are now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So why you get what I'm saying? You need to watch that documentary. I think, and it's right on YouTube. It's called Tricked into Gangster Rap. When you think of that concept itself, it's like that's crazy. So like black people were only fighting for this only because white people wanted us to fight for it, and what they did was make us seem as though we could not have it. It was like them telling us we can't have this shit, so we fought for it. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Like,
they basically try to act as though they were regulating our right to have this music and then we was like, nah, we can listen to whatever we want. But the reality and the fact of the matter is there was many factions and many groups who protested it. There was many artists who protested it. In fact about it, right before gangster rap came out, the vast majority of rappers were positive rappers, or candy rappers as my father would call them. You had your Will Smiths, you had your Kid and Plays, your parents just don't understand, you ain't gonna hurt nobody, your De La Souls, okay? And past that, you had your Public Enemies, your KRS-Ones, your Brand Nubians. You had all of these different rap groups that were 100% positive. I'm talking about overtly positive. So all of them protested gangster rap because these niggas ain't had no job once gangster rap came out. But the very real fact of the matter is the corporations, the largely white and Jewish owned corporations, don't Kanye me, it's a fact though. What they did was they used the music as a commercial for the privatized prison industrial complex and a whole bunch of other brands and spending and money and shit. That's why when we be like, oh, Cristal, niggas buy Cristal. When we say, oh, Don Julio and the freezer that they gave us for free, Drake dropped that line, nigga, every black person in America start buying Don Julio. Like the very real fact of the matter is, they know the influence that the music has on our behavior and on the behavior, the spending behaviors we have, okay? They get it.
Most trends are started from hip-hop.
So they wanted to stick your ass in the prison, right? Now, mind you, the prison industrial complex is traded on the stock market. These motherfuckers are literally trading privatized prisons on the stock market. It is a business. They are getting $40,000 federal subsidies per inmate per year. All that money going in the bank, and they use that money to leverage, home loans, leverage, loans that they give out. They literally, because that's what banks do. They take all of the money in, and then they put all that money out. So guess what? If you got a prisons all throughout the country and you getting $40,000 federal subsidies per inmate, that's a whole lot of money. That's big business. That is a business. So like with any business that you have, you need commercials for the business. If I wanted to sell McDonald's right now, I'm coming out with 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on the sesame seed bun. If I want to sell Burger King right now, don't be late. Chicken fries, it tastes so great. BK, have it your way. You rule. We're going to come out with commercials for our business. So what is the business commercial for the business of privatized prison? It's the music. It's the music.
Catchy tune.
The catchy tune. They like, yo, look, all right, well, we going to force these people and you know, condition their mental into criminal behavior, okay? Simultaneously with privatizing the prison. Yeah, they privatize the prisons. They criminalize you on the news, this, that, and the third. And guess what? When they privatize the prison, they criminalize you on the news and they turned you into the criminal and they was locking you up for all of this bullshit, militarize the police. We began to fight back. We was like, yo, hold on. That's how your public enemies came out.
As far as a rapper go, one of your most talents as a rapper would be, you know, your writing skill in your verse. However, that's not that important in hip hop when it comes to creating the song. So the most important thing when it comes to creating the song to get that shit popping is your chorus. You know, your chorus is the most repetitive thing. That's what people hear over and over again.
Young nigga move that dope. Young nigga move that dope.
Whoop.
Young nigga move that dope. Young
Like,
nigga move that dope.
get what you're saying?
Young
So-
nigga move that dope. If I say that shit 47 times, right now you gonna might sell some dope tomorrow. Now imagine you putting that shit on the airwaves unhindered for hundreds of millions of people throughout the world and millions of black people to see every single day. Young nigga move that dope.
Many talented rappers out there
Percocet.
that can write a verse.
Molly
but
Percocet.
that talent doesn't get them far. It's how well they can create a chorus so that the hits can hit the charts. You know what I'm
Meek Mill said it himself. Professor, they saying talking to the mic. Please, you know this already.
It's all close to me. What else can I do?
My nigga, project. You like this is a so when you know that they're nah, you battle rapping right now.
We're gonna need subtitles for me.
Oh my God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they saying talking to the mic and you're not loud, you got to speak up. Don't just not ignore them.
Figure deal. Let's continue the comment.
See, and you said that low. A nigga said, figure deal. Let's continue to count. All right. So, soft ass voice for a battle rapper.
Who said that?
Draco.
He
I-
he getting 3-0.
He says, so blacks are just mindless idiots who can't stop buying negative music and doing the crimes within the music. That's crazy. No, brother. We are not
I think you should
mindless idiots.
Yeah, I think you should rewind. I don't think that's. Yeah,
That's not what we're saying.
nowhere near
We're
close.
not
You
saying
probably
that
got
we
rewind.
mindless idiots. What we're saying is that our mind is being controlled through a $1 trillion propaganda and conditioning program that is brainwashing us.
Because that rhetoric that we're talking about, as far as hip hop goes, as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't just refer to black people.
They saying they can't hear you.
Still?
Speaking to the mic, nigga.
All right, that rhetoric that I was referring to when I said that hip hop controls the general hip hop controls us generally, so it's not just black people. So black people are not just mindless people that's falling. Like, the fact of the matter is, hip hop is still a business, and so black people aren't the only ones that's buying into this business. As a matter of fact, as far as hip hop go, when you look at the demographics, the white Americans are the highest of when it comes to hip hop because of they have the most money. You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of stuff in hip hop that's actually bought by them first. You understand? So,
But they can look at the hip hop from a detached point of view. They can look at the hip hop and like we fucking zoo animals and shit. They like, yo, look, look at them. It's like, I watch true crime all day and all night. I'm probably the #1 true crime watcher in the history of true crime. I don't want that shit to happen to my family. I don't want to live it. I don't want to be a part of the true crime. That dynamic is different when it comes to black people. Black people, they resonate with it. And when that's all you see of yourself on the TV, we now want to live it. We want to live this
it's a
stuff.
different story for us. It's a different story for us, and it's not a justified
Press
one.
ones if you can hear it, Professor, now. Twos if you still can't. Go ahead.
It like he said, it resonate with us, and it's not something that we just, are just, what I'm saying? Like, it's not something that we're just okay with. It's like kind of part of us. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you oppose it to the average viewer in the general public, because hip hop makes a lot of money, but it's not just making money from black people. We're a small percentage of the U.S. You understand what I'm saying? And so therefore, when we say that hip hop has when he said that like we're just idiots that are confused as far as hip hop go. Like we would have to consider that same rhetoric for everyone that contributes money to hip hop. That's what I'm saying. That's my point that I'm making because of the fact that we're for you to say that we're mindless idiots, like, and that's not the rhetoric we were saying, right?
Right.
But for anyone to say that we're mindless idiots to falling into hip hop, the fact of the matter is, you stated earlier, Focus, that you have rich white people that want to transfer over into being like this hip hop icon,
Right,
That want to be.
good
That's
point.
and that's the point that I'm making.
Good point.
And so if we are
Slide back up.
and so if we are
Read that
hypnotized
comment
into
from
that
him.
shit, like if we are hypnotized into it, then you know damn well that people who are actually able to afford it and keep buying it and making these white people richer and richer are definitely hypnotized as well. So
Right.
no, black people are not the only. If you want to call black people idiots, then you have to call the general public idiots for loving hip hop, and that's the point that we're making.
But-
Because of the ill rhetoric that hip hop pushes, because that doesn't determine hip hop altogether. The gangster portion of hip hop is not hip hop in general. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You named what hip hop was in general in the beginning when you had named all of those artists as before gangster rap.
Right.
You
Right.
got-
Right.
and that still exists, but is it popular? No.
No, not at all.
And that's my point.
Not at all. So the mindless, ignorant, idiot, black people shit that you tried to pull, you're not going to pull that small time stuff over here, buddy. Okay? Nobody said we're mindless idiots. We are all being conditioned, but guess who's being conditioned more adversely? Us, black people. Why? Because we're in the hood. We're living it. We're in the, we got the lack of prop. They're playing on what we've been through. You out? They're playing on what we are, where we're at, and what we're going through. And guess what? It adversely affects us, and it affects us to the maximum. So he says, so why ain't majority of blacks complaining? Like the majority of small hats complain, or the majority of LGBTQ will complain, or any group that feels attacks, the majority will complain.
Because it's
Excuse
not
me.
meant for us to even see the danger.
First of all, that's not true. A lot of us are complaining. Okay.
Not a lot.
Maybe
To his point, it's not. He's right. It's not but that's what we're saying
What-
though. It's not
what-
like black people aren't going to have that perspective to stop listening to hip hop and complaining about it. Like I said, if it's being pushed on us to push it.
okay, but the point that I'm making is this: we are complaining, but the people who complain don't get a voice. You have a whole right wing that's against LGBTQers. They have a voice. They have the whole fucking Republican Party on their side. Republicans, nor Democrats, nor mainstream media, nor legacy media, nor majority of people who's making money off this hip brand of hip hop, okay? We don't have no big entity that will give us a voice or let this voice be heard.
And so when you say that, right, doesn't that kind of help the theory that I was referring to when I said tricked into gangster rap, right?
Okay.
Why would they give us a voice when we ask for it?
You said what now?
Doesn't that kind of what were you just saying just now that we don't have a voice?
Right.
And I was saying earlier that there was the theory on that documentary that we were tricked into gangster rap.
Uh-huh.
So in that documentary, it basically said that we asked for this,
Okay.
a way to get us to say that we wanted this, right? So why would we get a voice for some shit that we asked for? In quotations.
I see what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So that theory back then, when you're saying like we don't have why would we have a voice? Because technically speaking, we asked for it to happen, and then so if we didn't ask for it, you can look for that theory. It's like, well, technically we weren't asking for it, but they pushed it on us to ask for it. So now, once again, like I said earlier, where are we at now? We're at a point where it's only black accountability.
And that's true. But another thing is, and I had to learn this thing too, because before I used to be all, it's the music, it's the music, it's the music, it's the music. People, when you just say it's the music, it seems as though you blaming black people only because we make the music. So a lot of people are like, nah, it's the poverty. Nah, them people are just rapping about what they going through. Nah, it's the poverty industrial complex. It's the prison industrial complex. It's the government. It's this, that, and the third. They're all the reasons why we act in this way. If you just be like, it's the music, it's the music, it's the music, people misconstrue that and say, oh, you just blaming black people and you skipping the overall system. Okay, but so they don't even understand that it's the music. Sometimes we're being trained and conditioned against believing that it's the music, right? So that's another reason why. But majoritarily, those people who have that voice to say it's the music they're not being given a platform, okay? Here's an example. You got people who believe certain few ways, right? And if they rich enough and they got enough influence and they got enough power, they'll make you believe that based upon the fact that they want to impose their point of view on you, their point of view on the people, right? But it's only a certain small group of people who have the power and the resources to impose their thoughts and impose their will on people. If we gave, even if it was a small amount of people who protested the music, if we gave them a voice, okay, it would appear as though there's this mass movement of people who protesting the music. But because they don't have a voice, because they're not given a voice, then it seems as though nobody's complaining, nobody's protesting. But the fact of the matter is, it is. Look, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm a DJ. I don't curse in my music. I don't rap about killing people. I don't rap about stealing. If I talk about selling drugs, I say we used to do that, and then I give a cautionary tale on why we shouldn't anymore, right? It's a reason niggas like me ain't getting signed, though, because at the end of the day, we don't fit the mold of what the corporations want, of what the government want, of what these white-owned companies want, okay? We don't fit. These positive rappers don't fit that mold. So I'm not against music. I just think we need to rap better. I just think we need to give a better voice to those who rap positive and acknowledge the detriment of what the negative music is doing. We not doing that now. That's not something that's being done. Okay. So it's not that we don't have factions of people that's complaining. It's all types of religious groups, church groups, progressive groups, conscious groups that complain and that say, look, man, this music is destroying our people. There's white people out there that say, like, lo, it's the music, okay? It's the music that got them acting like that. But they don't get a voice. They don't get a voice, okay? Because too many people are making money off of the conditioning of the music. As I said, the Prada boys, the Gucci boys, the Louis boys, the gun boys, the perk boys, the drug boys, the prison boys, they all have a vested interest in making sure that our mindset and psyche is being curtailed and conditioned and guided into a certain paradigm. You feel what I'm saying? I wish I could find your questions because I can't find your questions.
I'll resend it to you.
Yeah, resend them to me. All right, go down. Let's see what's more. Say black people like it really isn't the music to me, because if you don't want to hear the negativity, you will change it. If you are down with that, it's being said. That's down with that is being said. Or I guess she's saying what is being said. That's you, and that's why you are acting. And that's why you acting how you acting. I disagree. You can't just say change it, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's a reason black music is the number one, form of music in the world. And that's because we got the best beats, we got the best rhythms, the best rhythm, the most catchy verses, the most catchy hooks, okay? And we identify with that, okay? And then on top of that, you can't turn on any type of black station. You can't turn on any type of black TV. They literally force feed that joint to us. And a lot of us do change it once we get older. Once we get older, we be like, yo, nah. We kind of shy away from that type of music. But when you young, it's hard to do that. Go to the high school. Go to any high school. I listen to my son all the time. Go turn on TikTok. They listening to this type of music. It's really hard to escape. You got to be living in a box to escape this shit. You feel what I'm saying? Like, eventually it's going to come across your desk. It's going to come across, you know what I'm saying? Like, and more power to the people who can shut off all music, shut off all black music, shut off everything current, shut off all all TVs, more power to you. But that's just not a natural reality. We still have to take into account the people who are controlling this. And guess what? If you have 10 million people out here that listen to music and a million of them say, you know what, I'm gonna turn it off. That's a high number. That's good. Okay. The vast majority of us can't. The vast majority of us, it's going to come across our desk, our AirPods, our TV. It's going to come. It's going to come. You feel what I'm saying? So you can't just be like, oh, you know what? We're going to blame each person for not listening to it, but we're not going to blame the system for pushing that shit out by the millions and trillions and quadrillions. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we not going to do that. He says, Yardie Diamond says, I can't imagine a world without hip-hop, though. All right, we not. Go ahead. You can get that.
Oh, no, I actually agree. And then there.
Speak up.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be able to imagine a world without hip hop either. But you know what? Hip hop started first, not gangster rap. Let's just keep that in mind. And that's what we're talking about. Hip hop versus gangster rap. When we talk about the contribution of violence in music, it is referring to that because, like I said, we are both hip hop artists, you know. And so there are certain lines that he won't cross as a hip hop artist. I'm a battle rapper, so I haven't put out much music at all, but he has a certain criteria as far as his music go. You know, he just stated before, and so it's like he said, if you have that certain criteria, then there's a certain point that you're not going to get to, you know, as a music artist, because it's going to be about what sells, not what's most talented. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you keep that in mind, that's when you know that it's a specific agenda of a type of music that gets pushed. You know, so you can say, you know, you got to choose what you say instead to the third. Yeah. And then everyone has free speech. But if you want to make a career out of music, there is a certain things that you have to do in the music industry in order to make it. You know, and that comes within like the verses that you put out, the chorus and all of that, you know. It's like you said, we have the illest beats right off the bat. We getting people, you know what I'm saying, tuned in just listening to those. But that's not enough though, you know. The fact is when it comes to the prison, like when it comes to the prison the prison industry, the only way to get into prison is to commit a crime, you know? And so, therefore, you got to put that shit in music in order for crime to happen.
Right. You got to push people towards that sort of criminality, that coupled with poverty, that coupled with the lack of economic opportunity, that coupled with them racially profiling you, that coupled with, you know, them militarizing the police and sending them into the hood.
It helps to look at it from an outside perspective. Like, just say, like, if you literally had an agenda, if you, like, just take the time from yourself to say, how can I use hip-hop to negatively affect the black community? You know, so when you are inside the black community, like the average person is, you know, you just love hip-hop, you love music, you just listen and it's fine. You don't see the ill rhetoric in it, right? But take yourself out of that side of the box and say, what would I do to use hip hop against black people? You know, and so when you ask that question itself, and then you look how hip hop is influencing our average black person in the hood, right? You can see it's not a far-fetched idea that hip hop is also a negative thing for it. Like it comes to our demise.
Right. All right, we got a question. It says, "What unbiased talk? What is realistic real-time solution to combat the evil of the airwaves?" Okay, well, first of all, to combat anything, you got to acknowledge it. First of all, okay, the half of the solution is admitting you have a problem. Okay, that's half of the. You halfway there. If you're an addict, if you're a drug addict, but you won't admit that you're a drug addict, you'll never get the help you need. So the first thing we can do is acknowledge the music for what it is, and then, you know, we can. I always say it all the time: rap better, be better, do better, you know. But then at that point, once we acknowledge it, we got to acknowledge who is in control of the airwaves. And then we have to attack them. We protest all the time, okay? All the time. We want to protest about things they allow us to protest about. But we do not protest about the pertinent issues in the community. And one of those pertinent issues is that They are controlling this music. Once we realize, like, damn, the music is a detriment, and then we acknowledge who is controlling it, then that's who we need to come at. Okay? So the real-time solution is first acknowledging we having a problem, and then completely boycotting all of this BS that we got going on out here, and then actually trying to topple the systems that push it out. Okay? If we as a collective voice decided, look, we gonna come at these corporations, we gonna not listen to this shit, my nigga, they gonna have to switch gears. You feel what I'm saying? You know, like they gonna have to switch gears. Some people would say the only solution is all out war because they got their tentacles in so far inside of us that they'll never give it up. They making so many billions and trillions of dollars from influencing us through the music that they gonna have a vested interest in making sure that the music keeps, you know, permeating the same way that it is. You feel what I'm saying? And look, I'm in the music game, okay? I'm a DJ, I'm a rapper. Don't get it twisted. I'm not taking a holier than thou attitude or approach to it. I'm DJ focused, okay? I've played this music in the club. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I'm some you know martyr or some freedom fighter who, you know, toppled the system. No. I'm just saying things as they are. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we need to rap better. We need to, you know, acknowledge the system for what it is, and we need to try to change things. When I do my DJ sets now, you know, I play a lot of R&B. I play a lot of old school. I rarely do any type of drill. I don't play drill music at all. But I play some old school trap maybe for 5 minutes, you know. But even me, I'm a contributor at that point. Every time I quit throwing parties, it wasn't because I wasn't making money. It wasn't because, you know, I couldn't throw parties or I lost the club. I could get any club I want out here. When I stopped throwing parties, it's because I'm conflicted in my soul with the music that I have to play to get the fucking crowd lit. I have to play the same music that I fundamentally disagree with in my soul. So this is why you see me writing my music differently, doing my podcast. I do festivals now, different things where you can't even, I do festivals, I do expos, you know what I mean? Like, I do conventions. Because you can't even play this type of music at that. I do weddings, I do sweet 16s, I do bar mitzvahs. You know, I do these type of events as a DJ now because you can't play trap. You can't play drill. You can't play this type of music. You just can't do it. So I try to stay as true as I can to my soul. Okay? If anybody ever told you Focus couldn't throw a party and Focus stopped throwing parties because Focus lost this and can't, they lying to you. Every time I've ever took a hiatus from throwing events, because I'm a nightclub promoter, I was that for years. Been throwing parties since high school. Every time I ever took a hiatus, it's because I could not reconcile myself with the music that I have to play. On God. Every single time. That's why. Period. Go listen to my music. Go listen to it. If you find a curse in my music, that shit is from 10, 15 years ago. I threw away tons of music. I used to be a thug. A straight thug. I smoked 20s of haze for days. Nigga, I be burning like a bad hoe. Stash blow, burnt my strip down to the last O. You want the beef, get your street cause your jab slow. I bring the heat and how you sleeping with a tag toe. That's how I rapped. I'm from the hood. All my music was like that. I had to switch it. I had to have a more cautionary tale now in my music.
I think you just sold the drug, killed somebody, and put them in the dirt. All in 2
Nigga, I killed 17 people in 4 bars.
That was crazy.
Now I'm like, we live in unconventional times, blinding behind enemy lines. celebrated and devastated for criminal minds. It's estimated we'll never make it to live in our primes because every rapper that made it will give you visions of crimes, give you visions of whipping it off of nickels and dimes, give you visions of women but with a brick and a nine, give you visions of getting money but skipping the grind until you sitting in prison living to give up your time. I literally had to change gears, switch gears, because I could not reconcile myself with that. Now look, we coming up from hell. We not coming down from heaven. I ain't perfect. You might see indiscretions with me. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying come follow me right now, fall in line. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that I understand the situation that we're living in and dealing with, and then now I try to move myself and act accordingly. You understand what I'm saying? That's just it. Although for me and Professor Battle, I'm going all gun bars. It's like, nah, let me stop.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yo, me and Professor got a battle coming up. You know, we battle on the podcast all the time, but we got a battle coming up. February 10th. Is it February or January?
It's in February, but it's details. That's all book right there.
The details come. We gonna drop the details coming soon. Me and Professor got a battle. You feel me? Like, and it's gonna be interesting. You know what I mean? Like, and shout out to my battle rappers out there because, you know, y'all do a lot of gun bars. You know, there's certain ones who rap better. I love the Loaded Luxes of the world, A Ward, different ones who try to rap better. You know, keep the curses out, keep God involved in they shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but, you know, to me, battle rap right now is the highest level of cleverness. You know, it represents the evolution of spoken word. You know what I mean? You know, music right now, it's hard to find some good music with some good lyrics. You got a few good, you know, lyricists out here, and most of them niggas is underground.
Yeah.
Most of them is underground.
Facts.
You know what I mean? But yeah, we gonna have it on Facebook,
And this is a
Twitter.
And
YouTube.
I'm the battle rapper. He hasn't
should I
done this
say
in a
X?
while, so you know I'm definitely trying to give him that battle rap experience. So
Yeah.
one of the things that
I don't battle rap.
Yeah, so one of the things we're gonna try to have lined up, you know, maybe about a month before the battle is a face off.
Oh, we gonna have a face off.
Yeah,
Y'all gonna want to
face-off,
watch
you
this.
know. Now, for those who aren't familiar with what a face off is, they are very popular in boxing, and they are also the same concept happens in battle rap as well, where basically two people. The rhetoric is sometimes always different.
We gonna be
Sometimes
screaming at each other.
Maybe sometimes they have beef. Maybe
I'm gonna be yelling with
they
them.
don't. But the point of the face off is to talk about, you know, what's going to happen during this battle. Like who like you know what I'm saying, like we. You know,
So
I'm
not a battle rapper.
Trash, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not a battle rapper. I haven't had, you know, I haven't battled in a long time. He battles all the time. He called me out, so therefore I feel like I got to take this challenge. You know, just for me as a lyricist, as a rapper, everybody know I got bars for days. So I feel like I got to take this challenge. So may the best man win.
Facts.
All right, let's get back to the comments. Slide up a little bit. Slide up a little bit. We had another question. All right. Wilda Figueroa. She says, I don't think that... Matter of fact, slide up a little bit more because I had a question right there. Yardy says, is gangster rap responsible for the loss of unity and love for one another in the community? Or was it the drug dealers? No. That was the government too. That was the government. They destroyed the families.
Did they say hip hop or gangster rap?
He said gangster rap. It might be a portion of it, but the fact is, the government had a vested interest in making sure that we did not have a strong family, because the strong family is the basis of a strong community.
But you said love, like you were just talking about general love in the black community.
Yeah, for the loss of love for one another in the black community.
Well, I did mention too. That's why I said
Jim Crow played a part in that.
Well, I mean, like when you're asking as far as like hip hop going, as far as showing love, well, not hip hop, but gangster rap. That's why I was mentioning earlier that ego that the average gangster rapper would have. You know, if you are a rap artist, you know what I'm saying, like a gangster rap artist, then there's a level of survival, right? And so there automatically comes that ego, that masculinity that I was talking about. I forgot who said it. Kevin Samuels. He said there's always a small level of threat between two guys talking. All the time. There's always a small level of threat. Even if it's a 1% when you compare it to women. You know what I'm saying? That's a regular conversation between two regular dudes. So when you take that concept and you put it into hip hop.
I don't know if I would agree with that. Not two guys talking, maybe two guys debating.
I know.
It's a level of threat.
Well.
Because we just having a conversation. We could be agreeing. We talk all the time.
I say even.
We be laughing and shit.
Whoa. I say even 1% though, and this isn't my quote. This Kevin Samuels, I guess, analyzed it on the comparison to women. You know what I'm saying? A conversation between two men, even that could start off as innocent as possible, can go left really quick.
Nah, that's Fendi's.
You get what I'm saying? Because of a man's ego, we can't escape. We can control it, but we can't escape our ego, right?
That's Fendi's.
You get what I'm saying? So when you look at hip hop, gangster rap. When you look at gangster rap, yeah, I honestly think that it's a big rhetoric as far as you know what I'm saying, how we treat each other because of the fact that we are supposed to have that survival mentality, right? We supposed to be tough towards each other. If I go back to my niggas in Philly, I can't go up to certain niggas in Philly with the same way that I go to some of my friends.
I don't think that's responsible for the loss of love in the black community.
No,
you got to go back to Jim.
Contributor though.
A small contributor.
But when we're talking,
we already didn't have the love for. Look,
and
listen.
Keep in mind, this was gangster rap versus poverty. I mean, when you're talking about Jim Crow and whatnot,
I guess it is it is a large contributor.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I would give you that, but. The inception of the lack of black unity, that shit go way back to Willie Lynch and Jim Crow and all of that. You feel me? It goes way deeper. When you talk about living in a white supremacy state where, every protagonist on TV is white and every worthy of God, every statue in church is white. Mary white, Jesus white, Joseph white, Abraham white, Lot white, King David white, Solomon, they portray everybody as white. You turn on the damn comic books and you got, Superman white, Spider-Man white, everybody white. I mean, you're living in a white supremacist society, so that a natural adverse effect of white supremacy is black inferiority. You're going to love yourself less. That lack of self-worth exists within us as a natural adverse effect of a white supremacist society, and that's what we living in is a white supremacist society. So the lack of love for black people and for your brother, that shit is ingrained in the American paradigm.
And don't get me wrong, I don't disagree with any of that, because when Malcolm X was first learning about the Islam religion, he was also learning about the disdain black people have for each other even back then. Which is why his physical appearance, when it came to grooming, for example, he would straighten his hair to look like the white man's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of us did that.
And so
a lot of us did that.
That rhetoric right off the back, black people didn't even want to be black back then, and so the point that I was making is
natural adverse effect of white supremacy.
Yeah, so then that's why I was saying, there's no way I would disagree with that. So the point that I was making earlier was just, on the terms of how hip hop has controlled the love that we have for each other in the black community today.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely to a degree has, you know what I'm saying? When you got every song telling you, I'm going to chop a nigga down, I'm going to kill a nigga, shoot a nigga, kill it. And they ain't talking about killing nobody else but they own. They ain't talking about murdering nobody else but they own. They not talking about hurting nobody else but they own. They exploiting the women. Bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. All it. They talk about nothing, nobody but they own. And yeah, that going to fester and foster right along with the natural adverse effects of white supremacy and many other things, the Jim Crow that's within us and many other things, that's going to foster and fester, that lack of black love, lack of black unity, and lack of black people caring about one another. All right, Wilder, she says, I don't think there's a solution. Young MCs nowadays have no respect. It's just getting worse. It's all they know. It'll never get better. I don't know if I agree with that. I agree with the fact that these MCs is getting worse. Some of them, the ones that are getting better and that rap better, don't get the airtime. Although there is a rising faction of Christian rappers all on social media. They be having hundreds of thousands of views and everything, rapping about Jesus. So, but once again, we're living in a Christian state that is the state religion. So they're more comfortable with that particular brand of music than they are with revolutionary music. They're more, comfortable with, you thinking the solution is in the sky rather than uniting amongst one another. A lot of them Christian rappers, they nice, but they don't be talking about the revolutionary spirit, okay? And we need more music about the revolutionary spirit. Those who had music about the revolutionary spirit was ostracized, vilified, and eventually wiped out of the game. All right, slide down. Oh, cameraman, slide down. All right, we're going to get into this Israel-Palestine thing too. Let's go through a couple more comments. Yeah, it's going to be a long show. Focus is such a debater, needed professor in his life. That's facts. It's my boy. All right. All Black Panther is Batman on steroids. Funny. It's going to be a long show, apparently. Do you think the community can go back to what it was in the civil rights era? It depends on what part of the civil rights era you're talking about and which belief system you espouse, because, if you're talking about the part of the civil rights era that said, we gotta integrate with white folks, and voting is our number one victory of civil rights, then we still living in the civil rights era right now. So we ain't gotta worry about going back, because we still think voting is number one and Democrats are number one and we got the Voting Act, and we can eat with them at their restaurant, so black problems are solved. No, it's much deeper than that. And you had factions who believed in, the free, independent black spirit. And if you're talking about going back to that, it's going to be hard pressed. But I think it's a necessity in order to actually do what we need to do to rise as a people. All right, you ready to get into Israel and Palestine? All right, we're going to get into Israel and Palestine now. Shout out to everybody who got on my Facebook post yesterday and tried to act like they don't care about what's going on there, even though it's going to directly, adversely affect their ass. All right, so what's your standpoint on Palestine and Israel, Professor? Speak up, speak loud.
Okay.
See, he's going to go low.
All right. So my standpoint on the war in general, let's see. So I don't find any retaliation justified. What's been going on is basically for about the past 75 years. For about the past 75 years, Palestine has pretty much been oppressed by the immigration by Israel and Jews into Palestine. So with that being said, it's caused a war among the two. Palestine is fighting to keep their human rights intact, because since the Jews have entered into Palestine, things like food and water and electricity have been taken away from them, for reasons as far as like land go and disagreements among the two. And it's a big disagreement as far as who owned the land first. And my standpoint on it is it's a lot of retaliation going on between the two. You hear about the attack at the festival, and then the attack at the hospital, and then the Israel, attacking them with just giving them evacuation steps that are damn near impossible. It's crazy on both sides. So I think that it's something that people need to start paying attention to, because with all of the ish that's going between these two, the U.S. has a very, very large hand in it. we're pushing one side onto the other as far as a win go, and it's not right at all. Because at the end of the day, while you have two military forces fighting, the ones who are losing for real are the civilians. So and that's my standpoint on it. Like, and so my standpoint also on it is that, like, it's because we have a big hand into the fight itself. It's like people need to get more in tune as to what they're putting their money into. You get it? Because we pay taxes. This is not like it's not like we're being forced, right? Like, hey, can you give money? Like, we're already doing it, right? So you might as well find out what your money is going towards. And it's a big growing population of people, for example, that are like, whoa, I'm on the side of Palestine, right? So if that is the case, then you need to start paying attention even more. Because while you're writing for Palestine, if you're going to be one-sided, just know that your money's still going to Israel.
Yeah. The reality is, the Palestinians are right. Okay. The Israelis are wrong. From top to bottom. If Hamas, targeted a music festival and killed 260 people or something like that, they said, yeah, that was wrong if you targeting civilians, okay? But we are not going to act as though the Israel-Palestine beef started at the music festival on October 7th.
No, it did not start there.
It didn't start there.
No, this is a long time. Like, this is a very long time.
It didn't start there. So one thing I
will argue 75 years, and Jews will argue a lot longer.
A lot longer. What?
Well, because like I said, this is their argument that they own the land since the beginning. So Palestinians have had the land since basically the Ottoman Empire.
No, Draco. Palestine did not start the invasions. That's not true. The entire Israel state is an invasion. And not only is it an invasion, it is illegal occupation and apartheid. They literally have rules for the Israelis that or I should say laws or they allow things for the Israelis that they don't allow for Palestine. Palestine is basically an open air prison right now.
Explain what apartheid is first.
Apartheid is when you basically have rules for one set of people versus another set of people based upon race, based upon pretty much race alone. That's an apartheid system. Okay, they had it in South Africa. Okay, of course they had it here in America. And the bottom line is they are under illegal occupation. They're under apartheid. They are under fire. So let me give you a little history. After the World War, okay,
around 17.
After, you say it again?
I think it was around
1917?
When the Accord came in.
Well, when the Zionists first started coming in. So after the I think it was the Second World War, I believe, that what happened was, well, we'll start from the 1917. So basically, the British Empire and the French, British and France, but basically the British Empire, they decided that they want to tell the Arab people, like, listen, help us defeat the Ottoman Empire. And if you help us defeat the Ottoman Empire, we'll make you a sovereign state. We'll give you all of your own land. We'll give all of that to you. And then what happened was the Arabs helped the British defeat the Ottoman Empire, which was their non-Arab Muslim brothers. They helped them defeat the Ottoman Empire. And then Britain and France changed the game on him. They said, listen, okay, we're going to carve up the Ottoman Empire, which we were supposed to give to to Palestinians, to Arabs, I should say, as a sovereign state. We're going to carve it up now. And what they did was they gave Jordan, Turkey, and parts of Iraq to the French, Jordan. No. They gave Syria, Lebanon, Turkey, and parts of Iraq to the French. Then they gave Jordan, Palestine, and parts of Iraq to the British. And then they said, so, and that was called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. So basically, two British and French leaders or whatever, after they promised to give the Arabs a sovereign state, they said, nah, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to carve this shit up. We're going to give the French a portion. We're going to give the British a portion, and that's how we're going to do it. With the British portion, Palestine being that, British decided, okay, well, we're going to honor a 4,000-year-old claim that the Zionist Jews in Europe have to this land. And they began mass immigrating all of these Jews into Palestine.
Now, by this time, basically, the British had made like 3 promises as far as that land goes. Let me repeat. So by this time, the British had basically made about 3 promises. 3 promises to 3 different groups, technically. Themselves, as far as the land goes. They made a promise to the Arabs of Mecca, and then they made a promise to, like he was just saying, France. By this time,
and to the Zionist Jews.
Yeah. And so the thing is that of course we all know that they don't have that control anymore. The UN came in, right? So they couldn't handle the controversy that was happening because of these false promises that they made to the Arabs. You get what I'm saying? It was a lot of false promises. And so the point that I'm making is that none of them really fell through. And then when the UN came in, they decided who.
No, they did fall through because the promises they made to the France stood, and the promises they made to the Zionist Jews stood. Okay, because they promised them that they would give them land, and they did.
What I'm saying is that the final decision, like it's like the British pulled out. The final decision didn't go down to the British, though. You get what I'm saying? When the UN came in, they just chose Israel. And from what I read,
no. But before the UN came in, you gotta understand. Before the UN came in, British said, listen, we're going to give this portion of the land to the Zionists, to the Jews, and we're going to mass immigrate them over there. The Palestinians had a problem with it from jump. Like, wait a minute, this our land? Y'all not going to be sending people over here? Y'all promised us sovereignty, and now y'all taking our land away from us. So now, once the Jews came in, the Jews was only 23% of the population, but by the time the UN came in, they gave them 55% of Palestine. 23%. It was 23% Jewish. Closer to 30, whatever. But 70%, over 70% Palestinian. But they gave them 55% of the land. So naturally, the Palestinians rebelled to this shit and was like, no, that's not fair. We're not doing all of that. So the Jewish people said, you know what? We'll honor the 55%. But we won't honor which 55% you told us. So they didn't honor none of the lines that they drew up. So basically they said, look, anywhere we say is Israel is Israel. And then they begin ethnic cleansing. They begin displacing people. They begin pushing them people out. They begin, murdering and all of the rest of this stuff, the Palestinian people. Now, the Palestinian people over the last 75 years basically just have to been subject to this shit. Because Russia backed them. At first, Russia don't back them no more. But the United States backed them. All of these world superpowers pretty much backed the Israel in this situation. So the Palestinians been suffering. They've been going through it. They've been being moved out of their homes. They've been being illegally occupied. They've been under the apartheid system. They just been being destroyed, right? So now what you have is all of these different Palestinian protests, right? And Palestinian tries at trying to regain their homeland or come to some sort of equitable agreement, which Israel really never honored none of that, okay? They pretty much did what they wanted to do with land that wasn't theirs. They had a phrase and a saying that said, a people with no land for a land with no people. Like Israel's like basically saying like we didn't have a homeland, a people with no land are now going to go into a land with no people. But it wasn't a land with no people. It was a land full of people. And the people who had to get murdered, displaced, and put in basically under a fucked up ass system. Like, imagine if I came into your crib, right, and was like, Ho, you bought this 2 acres of land up in Makunji. And I came there and was like, yo, listen, nah, this is my land based upon a promise 4,000 years ago. Like, nobody would respect that shit. I would get locked up. Fact about it, nowhere on the planet would anybody respect me telling you I'm going to take your land over based upon a 4,000-year-old promise. That's just something that is not normal and it doesn't exist.
I'll give you a better example. They have it was this one guy. He was basically like, this is basically like the guy was like he was basically like, this is like if you come into my house and you put me in the bathroom and you close and lock the door and you take over my house and you eat my food and you sleep in my bed and this, that, to the third, and I'm inside the bathroom crying and screaming, and I finally come out and I decided to rebel, and I'm the wrong one.
Right. Exactly.
That's the way. Yeah. That I feel like I was like that was one of the examples that was actually named as far as.
So we got 1967. We got 1993, the Oslo Accords. People tried to come in and negotiate, was disrespected. We have something in 2014. They had the Great Return, where Palestinians they peacefully protested at the wall that Israel built in Palestine to keep them out, and they sniped these niggas. They sniped them. Every conflict you had with Israel and Palestine, the Palestinians died way more disproportionately. Right now, you saying they killed 260 people or something like that at a music festival. 3,860 Palestinians have been killed since last weekend, 2 weeks. They just bombed the hospital yesterday. Bombed the hospital, killed like 600, 800 people.
Yeah, 800.
Like 600, 800 people. So, I mean, the very real fact of the matter is, we cannot, ignore the problems of the Palestinian people. They are suffering. They are going through it. They are dying at a high rate. And Israel is committing straight war crimes against these dudes. Like war crimes, like on everything. Like, they put them under siege. First of all, they've been under siege since 2006. Okay? 2006, they've been under siege. 17 years. Israel controlled it. Land, air, and the sea. In Palestine, though, people been there for millenniums, but Israel control everything. Israel, one of the richest countries or states on the planet. Palestine, one of the brokest countries on the planet. No clean drinking water. Okay? They suffering. They disproportionately, you're talking about military blockades, people being locked up. Like, they talk about 200 hostages that the Hamas supposedly have. Bruh, Israel got thousands and thousands of Palestinian hostages. But they don't talk about these things. So my whole issue is this.
Well, that's, and you see that this is what I wanted to talk about, right? Like there's a very, very personal standpoint when you look at things that way, right? But when you ask an Israeli about these concepts, they wouldn't look at them as hostages. When you ask an Israeli about these concepts, for example, they wouldn't look at them as hostages, right? In comparison to like hostages being taken for, like they look at it as these are people in these homes while we are trying to go after Hamas.
No,
but you get what I'm saying though. Like this like the perspective that you're pushing right now. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who have been arrested over these last few years.
You called them hostages.
Yes, because of the military blockade.
And that's what I'm saying. So like on the other side, like that's what I'm saying. On the other side, it's like, all right, we have these people as hostages, and they're telling you we have them as hostages. So I understand what you're saying. Is like, yo, on the other side, they might as well be hostages too because of all of the shit that you're putting them through, all of the shit that they're going through, right? That there's no justification for that. But I need people to understand the terms that we're talking about, all right?
Hey, Kwana. We'll see you next week, girl.
I need people to understand the terms that we're talking about. So on the other side, there is a call for example, like, all right, we will release these hostages if y'all let our people go. As far as like Palestine go. You get what I'm saying? So it's like lift the oppression up. So let us start getting our food, our water, our electricity start giving us human rights, and we'll let these hostages go.
You see this? You see this?
Did
Our
you-
food, our water, and
But you-
electricity.
all right, but you,
How in the hell?
but no. Do you? I need you to like before. But that's what I'm saying. I need you
It's
to.
crazy.
I need you to understand what I'm trying to get them to. Because it, like I said, it's a lot that we're saying. For example, that you're saying right now that I still don't know what he's talking about. But yeah, root for these people. You get what I'm saying? Root for Palestine, but they still don't get the concept of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. So I wanted to make sure that I get the concept of what Israel is saying on their side as well. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And what are they saying?
But you see, that's my point, right? So you have a personal opinion in this.
My
You
opinion
have
is
a
based on
and
facts,
so,
though.
and you see, and that's what I'm saying. So you're not arguing with an Israeli. If you were arguing with an Israeli, yeah, these points would make a difference. But you don't have an.
I'm not arguing with nobody. I'm educating the people on the Israel-Palestine thing. If
Okay,
you
all right,
watch
so
any of the news, you realize
okay,
Israel and
all right,
Palestine
okay,
is at war.
okay,
And we about to go
all right.
into how that adversely
You're not
affects us
arguing
here in
with
America.
So that's what I'm saying. You kind of didn't you just disagree with him,
With who?
Draco?
What
When he
part?
said that Palestine attacked first?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's my point. He learned a piece of information from a perspective out there, right? So we're giving ours, and so he's like, all right, I just found this information. It's just this, that, to the third, and then he's like, no, that's not what happened. And so therefore, you kind of switch the narrative, but at the same time, you're also writing for Palestine. This
I'm writing for truth.
You see what I'm saying? This is my point, though, right? You Palestine and truth is the same thing for you. That's not the same thing for an Israeli.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
and that's the point. So what I'm saying is, like, if we're going to teach people, how can we teach them about the whole concept?
I'm not
of
here to teach people about the whole concept. I'm here to give the truth. They have enough media outlets spending enough millions of dollars telling their truth. I'm going to tell mine.
your truth. See,
Yes.
but you see, all right.
And
so,
my truth is based upon fact, proof, truth, and knowledge.
but
It's
how-
not based
but
upon
you
all of
don't
the
accept
bullshit.
My truth when it comes to a different perspective that we're teaching the people on the podcast, for example. So when they say, like, when we talk about, all right, abortion is this, that, to the third, and then we have a chick that say, well, my truth is, then what do you say to that? Right? That's where you argue that my truth bullshit, right? So now we're here talking about that same whole my truth as opposed to letting people gain their own opinion off of the research that's out there. 'Cause
You just said I'm not arguing with an Israeli. So if I'm not arguing with an Israeli, I'm not. I'm not Pierce Morgan. I don't have to sit up here and be a journalist at this point who's so objective that because I don't have Israelis on the couch. What I have an obligation to the people is to tell the truth as it is. That's why I started back from how we got here, the lies they told to the Arabs. If you help us, we're going to give you sovereignty. Then they fucking split up the Ottoman Empire and gave half to France, half to Britain, colonizers. Then I went up further to the lies they told the Arabs and how the UN gave 55% of Israel to 23% Jews.
So what I'm saying is, if an Israeli was
Like,
here
bro,
right
that
now,
shit is wrong.
No. So what I'm saying is, if an Israeli was here sitting right now, basically disagreeing with you,
I smoke his boots.
Well, you're saying that he would be considered a liar. You would be straight calling him a liar because you are submitting that only you are telling the truth.
No, I would. Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and you see, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, tell them that only you are telling the truth when you have a personal tie in, and it's not fair.
I don't have a personal tie. I'm not Israeli.
The truth.
I mean, I'm not Palestinian.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Ride for Palestine and the truth. You put those in the same category.
It's true.
Oh, that's my point. So you don't have an Israeli to actually combat you against that, saying that no, not everything you're saying is
We
true.
live in a country in which CNN, Fox,
It's basically
ABC,
pushing the Israeli
Israel,
concept.
right?
I
So I
get
don't
that
gotta sit on
concept.
my show now
get that
and
concept.
push that narrative
All right.
too.
I get
I
that
can
concept,
use
right?
my show to combat the narrative that's being pushed out by all the media outlets. I can use my show
So,
to
for example-
to push a different narrative. I have every right to do that.
So, for example, I just watched a video of a Palestinian Arab Muslim who got up there and whatnot and was basically talking about all of this shit that's happening to them over like for the past 75 years. And this is what they said, quote unquote. They was like, basically, there's this side of the persecution of the Jews that happened this long time ago versus the human rights being taken away from the Palestinians. So right off the bat, you had him acknowledging that persecution did happen to the Jews, right? But then at the same time, that doesn't justify what is happening to us currently. So he acknowledges certain shit that Israel people would say if they were arguing against you. You, on the other hand, wouldn't argue that, for example, Jews were persecuted. You don't believe that, but you had an era.
No, I do believe that they were persecuted.
But that's my point. You disagree with that when I'm like, but Jews have been persecuted. I'm saying we don't have to scale it as to who's
you
been
said the Jews was persecuted more than anybody else.
No, I did. What I was saying is,
and that's it's not true.
No, that I did not. That's what I'm telling you. I'm like, this is not what I said. I'm trying to tell you is what an argument would come from an Israeli. And so when we get that information out there, I'm like, you argue your point. But what I'm saying is we have to still tell the audience what an Israeli would say in comparison to that. Otherwise, they don't know that information over there. All they know is what you are telling them.
No, that's not true. Look at our chat. What are these people saying?
Well, exactly. You disagreed with Draco, didn't you? So that's my point, right? You just told him that he was wrong when he basically found information from somewhere else.
He found information that is being pushed on him by the mainstream legacy media.
See?
If you turn on any TV,
so
they're saying
me that these are words of an opinion.
First of all, listen, we live in America, USA. USA is the number one financier to Israel. They back all of the narratives coming out of Israel. That's what they do.
And you are
so I don't have to worry about.
You are exactly right about that. And so that's why I would want people. You know how much time it took me to realize how much the U.S. is pushing Israel? This didn't just take one day of focus lecture. You understand? I had to listen to both sides. You get what I'm saying? But we did, like, both of us didn't have the time to be able to do it. That's why I'm trying to push this idea that you have to look at it from both sides. We cannot just, like, we can be out, like, I am down for a ride for Palestine based alone off of the oppression that they're going through. When you just take away, like, all of the other shit that happened, like, the civilians of Palestine, regardless, they are still civilians. They are not in the war. You understand? They are not the ones they're attacking. 3-year-olds don't have a gun in their hand. They are just living. And unfortunately, they are not living. So when I speak in these terms, right, that is happening on both sides. And I don't find retaliation either way. So then when we talk about who's the bigger victim, that gives you an incentive to be able to say, well, this one has the right to retaliate. And then that never solves a damn problem.
First of all, First of all, the Israelis are the ones who saying they have the right to retaliate. They killed 4,000 Palestinians based upon 260 people dying at a music festival. And then they said, well, we have the right to defend ourselves. We have the right to retaliate. We have the right to destroy the whole of Palestine. That's what they are saying. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is retaliation is an inevitable response for apartheid, for occupation, for oppression, for displacement, for murder. It's inevitable.
So not justified.
Killing civilians isn't never justified. Okay. However, it's an inevitable response.
Inevitable and justified, two different things. Why are you pausing in between that?
All right, listen. Okay, so I'm not going to say the attack on the music festival was justified.
Okay.
What I'm going to say is it was inevitable. You cannot displace people, murder people, occupy their land, ethnically cleanse them, throw them in prison, carpet bomb them, you know, when they snipe them, when they having peaceful protests, and not expect people to come back on the other side of it.
And so if we keep that going, then it's inevitable that it keeps going, right? So if it's inevitable that they were going to attack after all of that impression, then after they attacked, it was going to be inevitable that Israel was going to attack back. And of course, it's not fair because Israel has all of that backup. So that attack that Israel puts on the Palestinian people is going to hurt more than when the Palestinian people hit them, right? But war is war, just like you said, right? It's inevitable. And that's the point that I'm making, right? Because these niggas still get hit on both sides, regardless of how big or small. There's still women and children. All right, these are not necessarily just men dying on both sides, right? It's not just men. These are women and children. Right, so when you say it's inevitable that they're going to attack after all of that impression, then why would it be inevitable for the attack to attack back? Even all right, you've been impressed. It's like the guy in the bathroom said, right? He was like, "You gonna attack me for standing up, right?" Yes, They are because you come out of that bathroom, right? They already put you in that bathroom. That shit was wrong in the first place, right? So then when you come out of that bathroom and you attack them, are they supposed to just stand there? Even though they're wrong for putting you in the first place, they don't even own that crib. That is your crib. But expect the fact that they're still going to fight back. Just like you said, it's inevitable.
Okay.
So therefore, when it comes to an actual solution, the only way is for you not to retaliate.
Okay. But the thing, no. That's false.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
if you put
with this
all right,
narrative, there will always be violence,
if
bro.
you put 100 people who lived in a house in a bathroom, locked them in,
not right,
and 3 people broke out and retaliated, you don't got the right to bomb the whole bathroom and kill 100 people.
See, now you're scaling the attacks. That's my point, though.
They scaled the attack.
No. What I'm saying, no, like.
You cannot listen.
No, but you see, it's like they're not going to downscale because they're bigger. You understand what I'm saying,
bruh?
And
listen,
and that's why I'm saying retaliation is not right, but there is no logic. Like there's not rules to war. What makes you think there are rules to war? That's the sickening part about
so
this.
if there's no rules to war, you cannot be upset with what the Palestinians did.
I'm not.
Okay.
My point.
No, hold on.
My point is,
if there's no, you can't.
I'm not one-sided upset. Bruh, my point.
You can't start the war last week. The fact of the matter is, the war been going on for 75 years. So if you're going to play that game and say you can't get mad at people retaliating when war is brought against them or when an act of terror is brought against them, you can't get mad at the Palestinians for doing what they did when they've been occupied, when they've been under apartheid, when they've been destroyed, when they've been killed.
You're pushing retaliation. I'm not. That's the difference between me and you.
You cannot start at October 7th. You have to start.
No. I don't even have a date in mind. I'm talking about retaliation in general, bro. Like, yeah, we can go back to 48. We can go back to 17. Like, even those 2 dates, it would still show that Palestinians have definitely been. I get that concept already. My point is like I said, if you're going to sit here and justify retaliate, it's going to be never ending. Because why? If you're going to attack,
it's already not ending.
So you attack the
It's
oppressor.
already not ending.
So you attack the oppressor. You attack the oppressor, okay, but it's not going to stop the oppressor from attacking back. So then the oppressor is already oppressing, right?
Excuse me. Wait a minute. The world community should stop the oppressor from attacking back. So you have to understand.
The world community.
Just last year, you had the head of the European Union saying you shouldn't be able about Russia and Ukraine when Russia said they was going to put them under siege, cut off their food supply, cut off their electricity since Russia controlled Ukraine. They said that's a war crime. We have to back Ukraine. We got to give weapons to Ukraine. We have to give support to Ukraine because that's a war crime. But now, 1 year later, when Israel is saying we're going to cut off water, cut off food, cut off, the Palestinian people and put them under siege, you're saying, well, that's justified because 260 people died at a music festival. No, it's not. It's war crimes regardless. There's very defined definition of what a war crime is, set down by the international community, the United Nations, and everybody the hell else. War crime is a war crime. You cannot target civilians. You cannot use the fact that Hamas, quote unquote, targeted civilians to now murder.
No, you can't.
Thousands of Palestinian civilians. You can't do that.
And so the point I always make is like they doing the same shit.
They wrong.
On each side. No, they're doing the same shit on each side. Regardless of how, like I said,
it's not the same.
We scared, like we're scaling.
Bro, it's not the same, bro. It's not the same. It's not the same.
You're scaling them.
So Palestinians went in. So you saying they doing the same thing? So Palestinians got them under occupation?
No, they're not doing.
Palestinians got them under apartheid. No. Do Palestinians?
We're talking about a specific subject. Stop doing that, bro. When I say they're doing the same thing, I'm talking about retaliation. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that Israel is oppressing the Palestinians the same way the Palestinians is oppressing Israel. Like, how do you generalize a statement when we're talking about something specific?
Okay.
I'm talking about retaliation. I'm sitting here telling you that it is never right to attack back in violence, okay? And then you say, how do you expect them not to attack back in violence when they've been attacking them this whole time? And I'm like, that's my point. They are saying the same exact thing on the other side. So it's going to always be a retaliation of violence over and over again because each side is justifying attacking in violence.
But But if we're dying already, if they're dying slowly
And that's where it
already,
goes. It's like, what's the point then? That's where I wanted you to go, because that's the rhetoric that they push. We're going to keep fighting because what's the point?
what's the point?
That's my point. And right there, we're going to keep.
You
fighting 'cause
already
what's the
got
point?
us under
And
siege.
so neither side is going to let up on violence, regardless.
My nigga.
And
The
I'm not
violence
I'm
is
not gonna
already
say that's
here,
okay.
though.
I'm just not going to sit here and say that's not.
That's a
okay.
defeatist mentality. The
No,
violence
it's
is
not.
already here,
No,
bro.
it's not. A defeatist mentality.
The violence is already here. The violence is already here. We are condemning the Palestinians for doing exactly what we praised black people for doing back in the 60s, and that's fighting back by any means necessary. That's fighting back. That is freeing ourselves from the yoke of oppression. Yes, you will have radical groups inevitably. And guess what? The radical groups are going to grow more now because you killing it. What do you think a man who is in Palestine that just lost all his whole family going to do in 20 years? This is why they want to wipe him off the map. Because at the end of the day, you're only going to create more Hamases, more Hezbollahs. You're only going to create more jihadists. You're only going to create more because you're dealing with them unfairly and murdering the hell out of them. That's what they're doing. And they've been doing it since the 40s. They've been ethnically cleansing them since the 40s. I just said they've tried peaceful protest. They did it with the Great Return, the Oslo Accords. They did it in 2006, in 1993, in the 60s, in 2014. These people have tried everything, and they have been met with nothing but brute force, sniper rifles, carpet bombing, and destruction. You are inevitably going to have a faction of people who are going to come up and try to fight back because they feel like it's the only way, only thing they have. So the only true solution is for the world to acknowledge that this is an illegal occupation, that these people are being destroyed, that these people are being displaced, ethnically cleansed, that these people are losing their homes, their loved ones, being sniped, being put under siege, and until the international community realizes and understands that what they are doing is wrong, but Israel can do no wrong. And that's the problem. When Israel goes to fight back or to wipe out 4,000 Jews in a week, Palestinians in a week, they got the right to defend themselves.
That's the point down.
But they can kill men, women, children because they got the right to defend themselves. But if the Palestinians break into a music festival and kill men, women, and children, that's the worst act of terror since 9/11. No, well, why don't they have the right to defend themselves? Since they're the ones who being illegally occupied, being put under apartheid, being sniped, being destroyed at peaceful protests. We have history of these people trying to fight peacefully, and they're being murdered and destroyed. But nobody is saying, well, they can fight back any way they want because they got the right to defend themselves. But 260 people die at a music festival, and now they saying, well, we can kill thousands and thousands and thousands and, I quote, flatten Palestine, turn it into rubble, bomb the infrastructure, bomb hospitals. They talked about the hospital bomb yesterday, but 22 hospitals already been bombed in the last week.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, bro.
And nobody is saying, well,
Israel,
they got the right to defend themselves.
Israel,
it's bullshit.
Israel and U.S. justify that shit. Not Marquise. I don't.
You sound real justifying now.
What are you talking about? And you see, and I hope everyone can actually rewind this back, right? It's like, because the fact of the matter is that while you sit here and justify Palestine, I'm just sitting here telling you I don't justify retaliation. Marquise isn't on the side of Palestine or Israel. Marquise is on the side of the fact that retaliation is happening back and forth. That is my argument today, and for people to start watching the damn war. You, on the other hand, like I said, you have a personal tie into it. Your personal stance on this is the fact that Palestine is in the right. That is fine with me. If you want to have a personal stance, you are not the only one, obviously. Right? But then you have, like I said, those certain ones, even in Palestine, that get an even more clear view of the shit, of the back and forth between the two.
So retaliation, the definition is the action of returning a military attack, a counterattack. So if you don't justify retaliation, you don't truly justify
that definition up because you basically said that it's okay for them to retaliate for oppression. But that definition
It's
does
not just
say
oppression.
That
I'm telling you that they had
Read that
military.
again.
It says the action of returning a military attack. They military attacked them when they ethnically cleansed them. They use the military to do it. When they set up military blockades, when they sniped people for peacefully protesting at the Great Return in 2014, that's a military attack.
and you see in the argument that would be made
When they
from
put them
Israel,
under siege, how do you put the people under siege
the
since
argument-
2006?
and the argument
That's a military
and it's-
attack.
and I don't have this argument. That's why I'm saying like the argument that is really when Draco said that they attacked first, right? Draco said that the Palestinians attacked 1st right? That's one of the things that's actually recorded, and now you disagree with it, right? But when the immigration, 1917, you listen. When that core agreement, all of that. Apparently, when you read up on that, they tell you that Jews were attacked first when they first moved down there. And that's why I'm saying this is a disagreement. You get what I'm saying? And so he came.
It's not a disagreement,
It's
bro.
a disagreement, right?
Bro, it's not a disagreement.
So while they saying this, that, to the third, you're going to say no, wrong, right? So then, who do people say? All right, who should I listen to?
Wait a minute. You just said Britain came in and gave 55% of the land.
Talking about 1917.
Hold on.
So this is when they were first moving in.
Britain came in and gave 55% of the land to 23% of the Jews. That's a military attack, brother. They used the military to do that. They didn't just ask the Palestinians to leave their homes. They forced them out and murdered a lot of them on the way. That's a military attack. How do you give 55% of somebody else's land to another people without using the military? That's a military attack, bruh. So that means if they say when we got there, they attacked us first, even if you go with that rhetoric, go with that logic, that's retaliation, brother.
See,
That's not
my argument.
if you come, bruh, you just said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. My argument, right? You want me to be for Palestine, and then if I'm not for Palestine, then I'm for Israel. I'm not submitting to that to you, bro. That's my point. I'm not for Israel, and I'm not for Palestine. Okay, I'm against retaliation. That is my argument today.
God.
All right, I am not arguing this with you as far as Israel versus Palestine. All right, that is for you versus someone who is Israel.
If you are against retaliation, then that means you're for Israel. Because
See what I mean?
it is.
Who the hell
It
Who the
is.
hell are you to actually set
No,
that
no,
rhetoric
it
for
is.
somebody,
No,
bro?
bruh.
For you to tell me this is who you're for just
Bruh,
because
listen,
you're not for retaliation.
if you tell people,
Because you're not for violence. Like, what the hell is that, bro?
bruh, let me explain myself. Israel occupied Palestine. Palestine did not occupy the Zionist Jews' European home. Israel used the militaries of the world to displace and ethnically cleanse Palestine. Israel was given 55% of Palestine's land. Israel used military force to do that. Israel pushed Palestinians out of their homes.
When people research, that's what they get, bro.
Israel used military force to displace those people. So if you saying all of that should be allowed, but there should be no retaliation because you against
Stop doing that.
bruh,
I didn't say allowed.
you just said you're against retaliation.
That's all I said. And
Okay, so
everything else that you're adding in there, Mark, if you're
Bruh,
against retaliation, you're
bruh.
automatically allowing this.
No, what I'm saying is this. If you are against retaliation, then you are for the people who are the oppressors and occupiers.
So when I
Because
said that I
you're
disagree
saying,
with that, then why do you keep-
excuse me, sir. You're saying
repeating yourself.
excuse me, sir. You're saying that they should be able to occupy, oppress, put people under apartheid, displace, ethnically cleanse, but you're against retaliation against that.
I'm against violent retaliation.
You're against any retaliation.
Any retaliation.
Okay, so we then have to come to the realization of who are the wrongdoers, who are the invaders, who are the occupiers, who are the ethnically cleansers, who are the ones that are being overt and forced, who is given 55% of other people's land. You have to start there because then you have to say, well, I'm against retaliation against the occupier.
And what about
Hold
the
on,
shit
let me
on the-
finish, sir. Let me finish, sir. I'm against retaliation against the occupier. I'm against retaliation against the apartheider. I'm against retaliation. Hold on, sir. Against the ethnic cleanser. I'm
Listen,
against
hold on, sir.
retaliation.
But that's my point, right? Because when you say I'm against retaliation for this, that, to the third, right? You're saying this as if you like. This is why I did all this research. You're talking as if you speak for every Palestinian.
I'm
out there.
not. You just say you're against any retaliation.
But you see, that's what I'm saying.
So that means we have to find out
I don't-
who was the first offender, and then you're against the retaliation to that
I
first
men-
offense.
But remember, I mentioned the.
So
fact
that means you're for
No,
the.
No.
You are for whoever
So-
offended
So
first.
why is why? So
Because you're
basically-
saying the people
All right, no, that's what
who
I'm saying,
were
though. No.
who were offended don't have the right to retaliate.
See, that's what I'm saying, though, right? I literally just told you that I watched the video with someone, a Palestinian, an Arab, a Muslim, saying the exact thing that I literally just said, right? As far as retaliation go. So then, therefore, you at this moment then submitting that Palestinian is for Israel.
No, that's not what I'm
I just
saying.
said they said this. They argue the same shit that I am, but they're Palestinian, and that's why I'm saying you can't like you're saying this as if like every Palestinian agrees with you on the idea of retaliation.
Bruh.
When retaliation has a own general term itself.
Bruh, if I come in your crib, punch on you, disrespect your wife, violate your kids, put bullets in your grandmother, tell you can't eat, take your food, tell you gotta go, you gotta move out.
I gave you this
And
example.
then-
Where are you going with it? I
And
gave you this
hold
example.
on. And then people say, "Oh, I'm against all retaliation." Then that means they're for me because they're saying I can do all of that to you, but if you retaliate, you're wrong because you're against retaliation. Retaliation is only the counter offensive. What about the offensive? See, you can't be against retaliation and then not be for the offender. That's the point.
Was Martin Luther King for white people when he told?
If you're
people to
against
turn the other cheek?
retaliation, you're for the person who
Did you-
committed the first
did you answer
offense.
that question? Was Martin Luther King a for white people when he told black people turn the other cheek?
Yes.
Oh, I'm done with this convo. You done lost it now.
That's why he said, "I have a dream.
No.
We could all be together."
No.
That's why he marched hand in hand with them. That's why they
crazy
put
shit.
him as a martyr now. That's why we just celebrated. We about to
Luther King
celebrate
is for
Martin Luther
white
King
people.
Day.
Martin Luther King was for white people.
No,
That's what that man dedicated his life to. The moment that he's saying, "I'm not for retaliation,"
My
he
nigga,
turned the other cheek.
my nigga,
He's for white people.
trust him. Well, that's what he said at first. Then after a while, he started preaching a different tune. He said, "I am afraid. My biggest fear is that I integrated my people into a burning house." He said, he began talking about black economics. He began changing his tune. And the reason they killed him is because he began changing his tune and they wanted to use him for their own particular means. But the very real fact of the matter is, if somebody hits you and you tell me to turn the other cheek, then you're for the hitter. That's a fact. Because you're telling me if I retaliate towards you, then I'm wrong.
Average person going to get if the average person
That's
get
bullshit.
Hit, average person get hit obviously, or they're going to hit back. I'm just talking about justification.
That's
bro.
my point.
I'm talking about
you
I'm
cannot
talking about
you
justification.
cannot do whatever you want to the Palestinian people and then on the opposite end of that say you against retaliation.
My point is
because if you're
that-
against retaliation, then you're for the person who first threw the punch.
But you see, that's my point there, right there, right?
Because you got retaliate. If I hit you, then you hit me, then I hit you, then you hit me, then I hit you, then you hit me. And then 50 years from now, little niggas be like, "Oh shit, nobody should be retaliating against nobody." Well, we got to go back to who threw the first punch. That's the point I'm making. You cannot start at the last punch. You got to start at the first punch. You have to start at the first punch. And when you bring it all the way back, then and you say, "Oh, well, I'm not for any retaliation at all," then you're not for retaliation against the ethnic cleansing. You're not for retaliation against the displacement. You're not for retaliation against the colonizer. You're not for retaliation against the oppressor.
Yeah, there's too
You're
many
not.
variations to generally categorize somebody like that just because they're not for retaliation. That's ridiculous.
I'm just saying, my man.
Too many variations. You know that already, right? You know this. You do a podcast. I mean, come on. You do a damn podcast. Like, to generalize somebody based off of one term that they're for this, that's ridiculous. All right? And so you got future podcasts coming
No,
up.
I'm not
okay?
generalizing you. What I'm saying is, you ever heard of the term like if you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Or if you're not with us, you're against us. If you're not for us, like
if you're not with us, you're against us.
like that type deal.
That's a terrible rhetoric.
You saying it's a terrible rhetoric, but in certain cases it's true, because the bottom line is, if there's somebody right and somebody wrong, and you turn a blind eye to the right person, then if you're not for me, you against me, because I'm right. I am right. I didn't do that. It's like saying I'm accused of murdering a whole family, and I didn't murder anybody, and you know I didn't murder anybody. We've proven that I didn't murder anybody, but then you still take a blind eye. You won't take the stand. You won't fight for me. You allow the narrative to go out there. Well, if you're not for me, you against me. Because if you're not going to stand out here and fight for the truth that you know exists,
it's an interesting example.
That you know exists, then you against me, bruh.
That's a very.
You watch my children get raped and you turn a blind eye.
That's a very interesting example that you use, because black people go by the whole no snitching rule.
I don't agree with that.
I know that. I'm very aware.
I don't agree with no snitching.
I'm very well aware of that. But then at the same
I
time,
agree with no committing crime. See, I'm not going to allow people to murder, kill, steal, rob, sell drugs, and death to the community, and then start at don't snitch. That don't snitch shit is some street shit that is not based in logic or reality. I'm not down with that. I'm down with don't commit the crime in the fucking first place.
That's true.
That's what I'm down with.
Well, black people,
I'm not down with the whole don't snitch shit is.
It really counts when the police are knocking at your door about a crime that you know happened by who and whatnot, but you give no information. I don't know how often that's actually happened to you, and it's never happened to me, but that is the rhetoric also of no snitching. Not just within the group of telling you,
but you proving my point.
Snitch, nigga, but I'm talking
you proving my point. Bruh, if you don't snitch and the police knock on your door, then that means you're against the police. You're not snitching because you're against the police. So if you're not for them, you're against them.
Wait, what?
You're not telling because
happened to a black person and you're black.
If you're not for the police, you're against them. The reason we don't snitch is because we're not for the police. We don't want to subject our people, whoever it is, to that fucked up, corrupt.
You can't say I'm not with no snitching, but then give a reason as to why you're with no snitching.
I didn't say. What are you talking about? What I'm telling you is this: the police have every right to say, if you're not for us, you're against us. And if you do snitch, the people have every right to say, if you're not for me, you're against me.
I mean, you can be against police. Who else do you snitch?
If you take a neutral, if you take a,
don't commit crime. But who else do you tell when the crime is committed? If you're not for no snitch.
Pastor Daniels. It's like,
confession.
All right. So
you want some comments?
Yeah. So the reality of the matter is this. I think we delved into this subject and the situation.
I think people need to, you know what I'm saying, really good look into this topic, yo. You know what I'm saying? And what Focus was saying was completely right about Palestine. Like, what they're going through is inhumane, all right? Human rights are literally being taken away from them out there. And it is ridiculous. You know, but I also think that, like, you definitely got, it took me a lot. It took me damn near a week. I'm not a history-made person, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a lot of the information to take in, and then in addition to that, like, I started looking into the religion backgrounds that Israelis' ideologies on as far as the land go from the religious perspective in comparison to the Quran and then the Torah. Like, it's crazy. And then the Bible, like, it really is crazy. And so, you know, it's cool. Everyone is going to always have I'm going to go with this side type thing, but I want people to see the bigger picture in it all. You know, it's a lot bigger than just a war between these two. Right? Like, the U.S. is in that shit for a reason. Like, do your research, really look into it, because it's not just as simple as you turn on the news and it's just another war in the fucking Middle East.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
This is a subject that's dominating the news right now. It's dominating the airwaves. You know, and I think too often, you know, we turn our blind eye to, you know, the struggles, the humanitarian struggles of the world, and we literally, you know, talk about Will and Jada and stupid shit. So the reason why I delved into this subject tonight was because, you know, I really think that this adversely affects us in a lot of ways, because the same people oppressing them oppressing us. And on top of that, this is our country. So like, like we said, our tax dollars is paying for this war. We're on the brink of World War III. People don't realize it. Iran, China, North Korea, Russia, they all riding with Palestine. America and their allies is all riding with Israel. So, and we're Israel number one financer, number one backer. So when shit hit the fan, we just sent warships. We just sent warships over, like mad aircraft carriers over to Israel. We sent aircraft carriers and warships and weapons and munitions over to Ukraine to fight Russia. Nigga, we on the brink of fucking world war. So as a journalist and as a podcaster and as an intellect and as a Muslim and as somebody who really, really wants to get truth out to the people, I think it was very necessary for us to have this conversation. Now, it's not our niche. Our core audience might be up here wanting to see a bunch of pretty girls talk about relationships and, this and that and, our black issues and everything. And I get it. But the very real fact of the matter is this is a news situation dominating the world. And I'm proud that we talked about it today. I'm proud. I'm proud that we got the couch clear. And it's just me and Professor who've been studying this shit and researching this shit all week long to have this debate, to talk about it, to get the information out to the people and to show people that we do care. Black people care. The DJ Focus podcast cares. We care about what's going on in the world. We care about what's going on in Israel. We care about everything that's going on in the world. And we care about how it may adversely affect us. So we got to give a big shout out to everybody who came through and wrote with us on the panel tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our commenters and our people, our dedicated viewers. Big shout out to all my TikTokers. Big shout out to all my Facebookers. Big shout out to all my YouTubers, my Instagrammers, my Twitchers. Big shout out to everybody on all the platforms that we stream live from. We appreciate y'all comments and concerns. We appreciate it very much. I think we did a good job kind of addressing this thing and going back and forth with it. We can get way more deeper, but I advise everybody to educate themselves on the matter and prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves, because if war came to America tomorrow and ShopRite closed and all these closed, bruh, we would starve because most of us don't got food to last a week. We depending on Burger King.
It would look a lot worse than COVID did.
We would a lot worse. We depending on ShopRite. So stack up your non-perishables. Everybody should have a basement full of 6 months to a year worth of food, so that you can use that plus the whatever's going on in the land. You can hunt livestock, whatever the case may be. You can hunt wild animals, get food in you. But if things is going slow and you can't get that deer hunted today or for a week, you ain't got to worry about burying your 6-year-old because she can't eat. So stockpile and make sure you got food, drinks. Everybody should have 4,000, 5,000, bottles of water, gallons of water. You should have, sternos. You should have candles. You should have lighters. You should have flashlights. You should have, non-perishable foods, blankets. Okay, you should have, just in case you had to leave your home, whatever the case may be. You should have, arms, whatever you need, because a lot of these niggas out here got guns. You don't want nobody to come up here and take all the food you stockpile because they got the guns. You should have all of this, all of these things, and you should be prepared, because if World War III came down tomorrow, how many of y'all will survive the week? Okay, so be prepared, be vigilant, be educated, be learned, be studious, and keep on fighting for what you know is right in this world. With that being said, it's the DJ Focus podcast signing out. Next week, we got Tammy P. We got Quanta Tatted, a couple extra girls on the couch. We got my boy Jacob Morrow. Yeah, man. And we going to get all the way into it, man. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm going to ask, my boy Jacob, he's into music. So I'm going to ask him some of these questions we said about the music industry and what we got going on. But But yeah, man.
Good combo.
Great conversation. And we will see you next week on the DJ Focus podcast. Peace, love, and soul.